We closed, but it literally came down to hours before the closing for that shed encroachment to be finally taken care of. If you've been following this story, you already know that there's a shed encroachment issue. The first contract fell apart, the buyers pulled out. We now have a second contract. Initially, the next door neighbor was cooperating, taking steps necessary for that shed encroachment to be taken care of, and essentially him moving his sheds over and the fence line that he put up back onto his property. But now he has essentially stopped doing so. He sends a demand letter, basically with the target date of when these sheds have to be, or the encroachment issue has to be taken care of, to the neighbor. Post office delivers the mail, it gets rejected, so it gets sent back to the owner of the lot that I was selling. And now we know that this is not going to go well. What ultimately ends up happening is the seller gets in his truck, takes the sheriff, they drive out to the property, they meet with the neighbor. It gets heated. There seems to be no resolution happening. And then all of a sudden, things change, trajectory changes, and they do come to an agreement and a timeline as to when all of this is going to be taken care of. We are monitoring it closely, but very delicately. Of course, after the meeting with the buyer and the seller where things got heated when the sheriff was there, we want to make sure that we avoid anything like that. And we do actually end up getting those sheds and the fence line moved in an appropriate time frame so that we can finally close and the new owner can take over or take the possession of the property and do what he needs to do with it. We want to get there as quickly as possible, as safely as possible, and obviously not have any issues after the new owner takes possession. So as we're monitoring, there's certain deadlines that the neighbor has communicated to us that he will meet, and there are delays. And of course, then he shares reasons for those delays. The day before closing, I decide that I'm going to drive by the property, one, in preparation of the closing to remove my sign, but two, check on the progress of the work that is being completed, that should have been completed at this time, to make sure that we don't have any issues in the morning when the buyer drives by the property to make sure that that encroachment has been taken care of so we can go into closing, sign the paperwork, and essentially take ownership of this land. As I'm removing my sign, I'm walking through and I'm noticing that there are things that are still on the land.